time. Oh.
Too late.
And we're back. Guys, thanks for tuning in. It's our Week 4 recap live stream on our Monday at 7:30. So the Supercoach Edge boys are coming in pretty shortly. We've sent through links. Obviously, I think on our end, we're running a bit slow today, thanks to me. But, yeah, outside of that, mate, I'm happy to be here, Joe. You're happy to be here. Week 4, tell me all about it.
Yeah, week 4 come and gone. It's been a long week because it's just been staggered, and I've hardly spoken to you this long weekend. What with a whole bunch of the celebrations. So massive happy Easter!
Easter.
Yeah, massive happy Easter to everybody out there who's watching. Hope you guys have really enjoyed the long weekend. It's been a massive weekend of football. But my super coach has not been the best. I just got to admit, my word, I just can't get tons. My players aren't turning up, mate. I don't know what it is. You pay big bucks for these primos. They're all fake primos, to quote our good friend Shaq.
It really feels that way, doesn't it? I know that there's going to be a lot of very cheap people in the next couple of weeks. And, you know, if you hold on to those boosts, if you've been able to manage your cash gen and your money in the bank, I think you're going to be doing quite well over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully that's me. I know there's one guy who has been doing shockingly in our forward lines that I'm not happy about, but outside of him, doing all right.
Freaking Cornelius, as our good friend Abs would say. I hate saying his name now, but Kevin, thanks for coming on. Happy Easter, my man. Happy Easter. Thanks very much for coming in. Yeah, look, it's been a rough sort of weekend. I ended up scoring, I guess I can say it now, yeah. I ended up scoring for the week 2,089, which obviously...
Joe, I beat you.
You beat me.
I actually beat Joe this week. How about that?
Yes, you beat me this week. Mate, all I needed was Wits to fall out as well. That was the only thing that I needed, and that's what happened. Bloody Witsy had to be a late out, and we're left scrambling. People messaging me on Twitter. What are you going to do? Do you still have Wits? Yes, I have Wits. Freaking gotta get him up. Gotta get him out of here.
Oh, man. I know a lot of people, at least it wasn't as bad as what the LDU kind of missing that with 5 minutes to go and Supercoach breaking. Was what happened. But, it was pretty shocking. A lot of people don't have R3 cover as opposed to like last year we might have had a Bruce on the bench. So, yeah. I'm happy with my Marshall 96. Not really, but it's better than a Wit 0 that I think a lot of people copped this week. So, yeah. What we might do, we have one of our special guests here. So, Big Damo from Supercoach Edge. How you doing, mate?
G'day, boys. How are you? Thanks for inviting us along. It's always a pleasure to do a bit of cross-pollination and collabs with fine folks like yourself. So, cheers, boys. Good to be here.
Easy.
And Liam will be here as well. He's just been held up for about 5 minutes. A bit of family emergency. He said he was making dinner and he dropped a glass bottle, so he's frantically trying to clean it up. Everything's all good though.
How's your week gone this week?
Yeah, I've actually just refreshed Supercoach and I just polished up some dinner myself and just checked the results, and I only scored 2,115, so thereabouts, I guess. Went up 4K in ranking, but I'm still ranked. That putrid rank, that number that doesn't look too appealing in 32,817. So I'm making ground, but very slowly. That's the worrying thing that really annoying as well.
A lot better than me. I'm currently ranked what I was last week, so that works out, right? Yeah. Maybe not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think I'm now ranked. I'll kind of reveal it now. we'll obviously do our team review videos. But so I scored 2-1-4-8 this week. So not too bad.
Oh wow, okay, better than me. That's a thumbs up from me. That's for sure.
Yeah, up to 52,000. So it could be a lot worse. It was a lot worse before this week. So yeah, happy with the result there.
Yeah,
for me. What about yourself, Joe? How you are? Traveling?
2089 this week. Didn't crack 2100, which is obviously very, very sad, very tragic, and 55,500 ranks. So it's only one way to go, and that's up, I would imagine, at this point, I hope. So keeping positive, looking forward to next week, getting rid of these fake primos in my team. They are absolutely letting me down. As Kevin says, all the primos are tanking. The thing is, Kevin, not all of them, just the ones in my team.
Just the ones in your team. Everyone else's team primos, they're doing really well. It's just the primos in your, like, everyone's teams who's actually here. Those without Dawson definitely struggled. I know a few people went Sicily or went Tom Stewart over him. Obviously, that didn't work out that well this week. Some people still don't have Dacos, so that didn't work out. There's some real shockers, but also it creates a lot of opportunity. So I was speaking to Joe a little bit off air, speaking to some other people about how cheap some of these defender primos are going to be over the next couple of weeks. And even the guys in the midfield as well. I don't know if you've noticed this, Damo, but outside of like an Oliver, it almost feels like the average of midfield primos has actually dropped a little bit this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that we've been noting in the past couple of episodes, especially on our potty. Like I think as well that a lot of people and a lot of content creators as well. Obviously, we're churning out content and giving advice and stuff. And a lot of people are saying, rankings aren't as good and whatnot. But I think there's a common trend where a lot of us are ranked around about sort of the range that we're currently in, because I reckon a lot of people have similar teams and there's very, very few or very little deviation between teams. So I think that's kind of the reason why people aren't jumping up the ranks as fast as what they have been in previous years. But yeah, to your point about primos and stuff, we'll just write out the run sheet, Liam and myself, for our upcoming episode for this week. And it's amazing the amount of value that you've just identified, like in defense, especially like with, Sicily. Unfortunate for Liam. He said, I've got to make a big move. I've got to get in a primo. And he brought in Sicily. And of course, he only knocked out that just above 70 odd. And I was saying to him as well, like Sicily is super consistent. At least you can rely on that high floor. And of all weeks to bring him in, he brought him in this week where he had a downer, and he's going to keep going down in price. But we've got, Stewart, we've got Sinks. There's a few people on the horizon that we can sort of jump on. But yeah, outside of Oliver, he's kind of the golden, the goose that laid the golden egg.
Yeah, it's interesting. You would normally think like a defender who takes kickouts would do really well in a game where they got smashed by over 100 points or close to at least. But I don't know what happened. I didn't end up watching the game. I was kind of asleep, but from work and whatnot. But yeah, it's a rough one. Kind of he just falls off a little bit. Joe and I were talking about Will Day. And if it's too late to still jump on him, are you on the Will Day train?
I actually boarded the Will Day train on the week ahead of this round. I traded Ridley to him. Okay. Just love what I saw with him getting CBAs. The role was the one thing that was the big question mark for me on him across the preseason. And I thought personally that maybe it was a season too early. A lot of people were throwing his name up, and I thought, he's going to break out. But I thought maybe 2024. And then, what he showed so far across the first 3 rounds of the season heading into this round, I thought he's definitely one to jump on, because I've seen enough to indicate to me that he's definitely breaking out, and I jumped on him. Love what I saw again today as well. Like he's got that role definitely. I think the past 2 weeks prior to, obviously round 4, he actually had the most CBAs out of all Hawks midfielders. So I was like, that's a big tick. So jumped on him. Was really not too happy with Ridley with that role. Thought he was going to take up that mantle that he had a couple of seasons back and elevate his average back to what it was. But yeah, I love the look of Will Day. But the one big thing is now, obviously, is he going to get suspended? I thought it'd be very unlucky if he does. I thought it was maybe in one motion, but I know with the AFL cracking down on head-high hits and the like, it's probably going to find himself unlucky maybe with a week, I think. But we'll see how we go.
Yeah, Global here saying, do you think we'll get reported? And then Julian saying day reported, probably misses a couple of weeks, which is a bit sad because even if he wasn't to be a keeper, he would be a fantastic stepping stone to like a premium. Pick him up at 300K and then do that. One I did notice from this week that I don't think as many people had was actually Dane Rampy. So chugging along, scored another 100, just under 400K, but an average of 100 there. So yeah, if someone's looking for a cheeky upgrade that they can turn into a premium in the next couple of weeks, might be Dane Rampy.
Yeah, but I reckon it will Day as well that, like as you were saying, like directly that, is he worth jumping on? Like if he doesn't get suspended, I think what he's shown and what he's outputting so far with the role as well, I think there's a couple of big ticks there. He's projected to make 39.9K if he punches out a similar score to what he did today. And that'll put him just a touch under 500K. So, and the one thing as well, he's going to get DPP eligibility with defensive midfielder eligibility. So that's the one thing that was another sort of third big tick for me that I was like, well, it's going to shore up my defense, which at the moment is pretty bare outside of Dakes. So that's kind of what was in my my thinking. But yeah, I mean, if he gets off, doesn't get suspended, he's definitely one to have a look at.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting time in my defense this week where Jinby scored a 40, Liam Jones scored a 45. The two guys I had on my bench, Wilmot and Cowan, ended up scoring more. And I'm like, yeah, Cowan did all right. I think I loopholed Constable and was just like, okay, Liam, Cowan and Wilmot only scored a 50. Jinby should be able to score more than a 50. Did the DPP swap. Didn't score more than a 50. Oh, mate, it was shocking this week.
Speaking of Liam, I think it's a good time to bring Liam in. Liam, welcome aboard.
Thank you. How is everyone going?
Thanks for coming in. Look, Jinby, I can allow Jinby a bad game. He's been absolute killing it for us. Still made a lot of money. And, I mean, he was a tough ask. I mean, go up against Clary. I mean, go learn the craft in the flesh, see how much of a beast he is, and see what all of the non-owners are doing, trying to scramble to get him in because he's absolutely torching all the non-owners. I'm a non-owner myself. It hurts. It really hurts. But that D6 spot, a lot of people are fielding a rookie. I know personally I had Constable and I'm still holding on to Constable, hoping that he can come back after a good showing in the VFL and after they got torched again this week. Please bring Constable back. We need him for D6. But it's not looking good. I've got a couple of fake premiums in Doherty and Ridley in the back line. I was hoping that they could do fine for me, but unfortunately, both of them combined could not reach Dawson alone. So that was very sad.
It's rough. How's your week going, Liam?
Yeah, not well at all.
I scored the highest out of everyone this week. I don't know how that happened. What did you score?
What did I score? Not well. 2044 off memory.
I did it, Joe.
There you go.
How did I
Big
score
J,
more than everybody?
You won, mate. I'm not last.
I don't understand. Supercoach is a weird game.
Yeah.
Supercoach has been tough this year. There's been so much carnage. There's been so many late outs. There's been so many underperforming premiums this year. It just feels like this year, among other years, you're having, and then you got the sub rule shenanigans that the coaches are pulling off late in the game.
Marshall.
Late out. And Marshall, why? Why would you do that?
Oh, man. That was a bit of a shocker for us owners, especially because he was doing quite well. I'm glad that he got scaled up about 6 points. Not sure how that happened because he missed out the last 20 minutes of the game, but yeah.
It must have just been him on the sidelines cheering along.
Oh, yeah.
Score assist.
Yeah.
Fist good vibes. The fist bumps.
One of the things that I kind of identified this week was I think people who were a bit more frugal in terms of their trades and in terms of their kind of sideways trading and stuff. I'm not sure about you guys, but I've spent a few trades at the moment that ultimately the goal of getting full primos coming, but kind of the price drop and the average drop of guys like Liam Jones, of Jinby this week, of Mackenzie this week, of Chandler this week, all of these guys that we were hoping to get up to 300K, or even just over, they're now going to almost stall because they've got 40s, 50s, and 60s in their cash gen, and their massive scores that they've had last week are going to cycle out over the next couple. Are you guys worried about being able to go to full primo in that kind of first upgrade cycle now, because there's not these influx of players that we were hoping to actually get to that full premium status? Or do you think we're still going to be okay? Because I know there's some teams that have overpaid for Oliver, who've come in and overpaid for Laird. I did a little bit last week, but overpaid for Laird, who've overpaid for English and Wits, who are now struggling because they've got like a couple of stinker rookies on the bench, and these guys just aren't ready.
Liam, I'll defer to you if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern I have with sort of the upgrading is just the fact that there's not that many rookies on the horizon. So I think that's probably the biggest concern for me right now. Like looking at, I think a lot of people, obviously Van Rooyen's on the bubble this week, but outside of him, there's not a heap of great options coming up in the next.
Brockman's knackered himself
too
with that 20, so he's done.
Exactly. So it's I think that's my biggest concern. So yeah, I am a little bit concerned, I guess, about cash gen in general. But I don't know. I guess it's one of those things that affects everyone equally, obviously. Yes. So I guess we're all hamstrung in the same way in that sense. But it is tough.
Samson Ryan would have been a great pickup now. Obviously, in hindsight, with Nankervis going down, so it's just like, and Soldo, I'm pretty sure, is also injured for.
Yeah, Soldo's out. Well. Yeah, for at least 3 or 4 off memory.
Yeah, so like it's actually been a really tough year. You fade on these guys who you think aren't great, and then all of a sudden injuries come in, and their stocks go up. Like you were never thinking a guy like Tyler Young, for example, in the background in the back line, 102K rookie, was going to amount to too much. But all of a sudden, then Broad gets suspended for 4 weeks, and he's playing really well. Like it just all this opportunity pops up out of nowhere, and now we're clutching at straws with the next bunch of rookies as key forwards, and those are obviously like normally the worst kind of players that you want. You don't want key forwards. You want mids, halfbacks, rucks, because it doesn't look, but we're really slim pickings at this point in time, and you don't want to trade into any mid prices. You really want to go guns and rookies from this point on, right?
Yeah, I think that the one thing as well that just looking at the lack of rookies, it does mean that we have to hold on to those rookies that we've already got, like those cash cows, for a little bit longer than probably what we want, just because they provide that security, obviously. But there's guys, as you mentioned, like Big J with Liam Jones, like his break even's 36, and he's projected for a 37 this upcoming round. So he's someone as well. Like who do you trade him down to, especially in defense? You almost need to be creative if you can. Like, and it comes back to sort of the value of having the DPP swings, because gives you that flexibility to trade him down to someone in the midfield, or maybe into the forward line if you can do a couple of swings here and there. But I just wish that that Jay-Z and Sheasel had the eligibility for this week, because then you'd be able to do the easy switch with someone like Samson Ryan, for example. Like he'd be the classic one to go down to at the moment. But yeah, it's super hard, and it's almost, that was kind of part of my thinking as well with jumping on Will Day, like using him as a bit of a cash ride, which normally I wouldn't do, because it's sort of fraught with danger going for these guys at that awkward price point as a mid-pricer. Setterfield, for example, as well. Like I normally wouldn't probably jump on him, but had to fork out the cash to do so after he'd already sort of punched out those first couple of scores. So you have to almost be a little bit more creative this season compared to our season prior. Was a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, the one thing, speaking on Day before we kind of, I guess we'll let other people talk to. The one thing with Day is that the fact that he was named like on the Rovers this week for me was just the cementing of, okay, Warple was named on the bench. They obviously scored similar, but Warple was named on the bench. He was named right in the guts, and I'm just like, hey, that's straight away for me. We've got a couple of questions here. What do you guys think about Cogs? So he's someone that's really hurt me over the last couple of weeks. Do you guys feel like he's a trade, or will he bounce back, or what have you kind of identified with him? I think he was very lucky to get that 71. He was on track for a 50 and then had like a 65 and then somehow got scaled up a little bit kind of after the game. I think maybe they missed a possession or two.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I think like if I had owned him, I think that I'd be sticking fat with him. He scored well in his first couple of weeks, or especially round one anyway with the 143. But it's hard as well because I mean, probably talk to Doherty in the same respect as well. That dropping. You said that massive drop in cash, and you're like, oh, he's going to drop potentially another 30K next week as well if he punches out a sub 100 score. But I think I'm rubbing my hands together, like personally as a non-owner, because I thought I may have to go a little bit earlier than anticipated in terms of trying to get him in when I've got, as we spoke to, like Sicily and Sinks and whatnot, who I'd want to jump on, and Stewart as well, obviously as well. So I think it works well for non-owners, but I do feel for owners because you have to sort of ride that wave and people will get him cheaper than what you obviously got him at from the start. But I think he'll bounce back. It is a little bit worrisome, but I think he'll bounce back.
See, someone like that, though, I have more concerns over someone like a Doherty, for example, because Doherty, you can see that as soon as Doherty moves to a better role, to a better position on the ground, his scoring automatically improves. Like when he's put on the ball, you can automatically see, things actually happen. His points go up. He has like a 50-point quarter. He's capable of that. But a guy, and then we'll obviously have another time where he's playing this dead role, running in dead space, where he's being burnt, he's not being used, and it sucks that he's not scoring there. But a guy like Cornelio, his role hasn't changed. He's still who he is, but he's just not getting that scoring week on week. He's still butchering it. He's still not getting involved. It looks like he's really not that guy anymore. And Kelly, well and truly is the one that's leading that midfield. I'm seeing more impact out of a guy like Toby Green than I am out of Cornelio, and Toby Green's higher up the ground. So it's Cornelio is absolutely doing my head in. I might have to stick fat with him, but it's just non-owners, very lucky, very lucky.
What do you reckon, Liam, before I give my thoughts? What do you reckon?
No, I agree there. Like I think if I was an owner, I'd be holding, despite the fact that I've traded out Ridley and I'm going to be trading out Doherty this week, which I would normally say is sacrosanct. But I do think for Cogs, it's slightly different. I do feel like, as you said, sort of the role doesn't look to have changed. So that in a sense, that's positive because there's upside for a Doherty who the role has changed, and there's possibility for him to go back. But I think on the other side, if the role's there, it could just be a case of he's just a bit out of form and just needs, the scoring will come if the role's there.
I think for me, we noticed it last week and we were talking about it, how Gordon Grundy now obviously won't be getting DPP. The kind of top six, at least for the first few weeks, are very much set. Without these like real ruckman, maybe like a Ben Keys comes in, maybe McRae. I'm not sure of the DPP percentage at the moment. Obviously, I think there'll probably be an article this week about it. But because there's not other people coming in, we're kind of stuck with the forward line we have. So we can kind of pick and say, okay, these guys are going to be the top six from now on. So that, I think, in itself is probably Cogs' saving grace. Not that it's a good one, because it really sucks being an owner, especially last week when he came in and scored, had 39 touches and only got us 50. It's great for fantasy, but we'll wait and see what happens. I think that's really the only saving grace for him this week. All right. Do you guys, I have a question. Do you guys think that Jack Siebel is a keeper in the position? Is he in your team? Are you planning on keeping him for the whole year?
Liam, you can jump into this.
I'm not an owner. If I was, I would love him to be a keeper. And I feel like I guess what a lot of people sort of jumped on was that we've seen him in that defensive role. He plays really well, obviously. He's averaging 98.8. Just looking quickly at his scores. So he's had two tons and two scores sub-ton, 78 and 92 on the weekend. I think a lot of people have jumped on hoping that he would become that keeper like we saw, 2021. I personally probably don't think he is. I don't think he's scoring. I don't think he'll average high enough, but he does have a nice floor, so he's probably a late upgrade. Probably easy enough to hold and in your D6. Potentially, as it says, Global says D6, D7, and potentially a last upgrade.
I'm just considering this week I have the potential to bring him in. I don't have him at the moment. It's a toss-up because I know how well he does with Logue because it frees him up not to be having to be a straight key defender, and Logue's obviously back. But then with Mackay coming back, what kind of does, what happens there as well? It's another mouth to feed in that back line. Does Zeeble just go full crazy? If I get Zeeble in, I have 7 players left to upgrade. So it's it's looking well, that plus Marshall and Cogs, obviously. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Interesting thoughts this week.
What's the trade-out order for these players, Doc, Ridley, and Cogs? I think probably Ridley first, Doc second, Cogs third, I'd say.
I would go the opposite. I would say Doc first. I think you have to. I think you've identified he's not going to be a keeper, and he's the one that's going to drop the most money the quickest. So if you can sideways him out now, perfect. Because is he just under? Is he just under the cash, or how much is
at the moment? 25 and a half.
So that's good enough at the moment. You've still got some wiggle room there, but if you wait another week on Doherty, potentially he could drop down to your 450 mark, and then you'd be in some real trouble there. So I reckon go for the one that has the most money to lose, and then go from there. If you think all 3 are not going to be keepers.
Yeah, I'd agree there as well. Sam Doherty's break-even's 143. Ridley's is 93, so it's achievable. Yeah, he's 483.2k. He's averaging 90.3 for the season, so 93 is achievable for him. But again, probably not one that you want to keep. But yeah, I'd probably go Ridley and then Doc.
I personally put Ridley first straight out of target because I know that he's guaranteed not going to be a top 6 defender. Whereas I just feel that with Walsh's imminent return next week, that we're not going to see Doherty in any dead space. I think Doherty is going to go back to play at half back, and we're going to see him in a more defined role, less moving around. And I personally think it will only bolster up his scoring. He's lost his cash now. It's not about the scores before. It's about what the scores you're going to get moving forward. And I think the scores that we're going to get moving forward are going to be better. I think it's going to be around the mark, personally. Maybe top 8. I can see him going 100, 105 for the rest of the year, personally. And that's why I'm willing to take the risk with Walsh next week.
Fair enough.
Yep, I agree to an extent as well. Like I told you boys earlier, I punted Doc to. Well, he was my ticket to LDU. Your boy, Big J. Absolutely love him. Like Liam and I both love him. Love the cut of his jib. Like he's just one of those guys, just bustling, contested player. And he was really the only reason why I traded out Doc. Otherwise, I probably would have shown the faith in him. Because as you said, Joe, that once Walsh returns, which probably will be most likely this week, I think it will free him up to no longer be required as much in the midfield. And I think it's probably that uncertainty around his role, which really hasn't been there of years gone by, where he's just had that sole role alongside Adam Sard, as that distributor running out of defense, where I think Sard at the moment has kind of absorbed that role to himself. And then you've got the likes of, you would have seen against Steel Mob as well, Big J, like just the amount of passing back in defense, and McGovern ended up having like 25 disposals or thereabouts as well, which is unheard of. But then he went down injured as well, was subbed off, provides one less mouth to feed, I guess, in terms of distributing, and switching play and whatnot. So I reckon there's a bit more upside to Doc as there was in previous weeks. But yeah, I think he will turn it around, and I will be happy enough to burn a trade to bring him back in down the line, I think. Provided that he, goes back to that scoring that we've seen of years gone by, which I think is achievable. It's just a bit unfortunate the way he's been used, because even though he showed a bit of strength in the midfield across the preseason, I think there's just too much swinging back and forth, and he can't get that continuity in his game. So hopefully that presents itself.
Yeah, that was the big thing when we, if you caught our interview with Pommy a couple of weeks ago, was talking about kind of the avenues of scoring for a lot of these players, and similar to a Cripps now, Carlton in itself has just got a lot stronger, so they're not reliant on one or two players to do really well. You know, like of Akers and things like that coming in, with Mitch McGovern doing really well, as you say, in that back line, taking kickouts and things like that. There just isn't that 4 or 5 different avenues of scoring anymore for a Doherty. So maybe, you know, trade him out, like you say, and then pick him up at 300K as a nice DPP swing come round 12. See what happens.
That'd be handy.
How good was Dawson? Yeah, Guy. Well, Dawson was
He's pretty good.
Unreal. He was unreal. He's playing the perfect role. He's playing mid and then going back and taking kickouts. That's probably the big difference between him and Doherty at this point in time. Doherty's he's lost those kickouts. And even when he took him, he wasn't playing on from them. What is going on at Carlton? What's going on? I was pulling my hair out. No, step outside the box. What are you doing? Who do we bring in for him? Who do we bring? I think Dawson's going to be a very popular trade in this week. If those don't have him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Dawson. Stewart's another obvious one as well. I think dropped the 31K. His break even is now achievable. Yeah, 69 heading into this week. So probably the 1 week to jump on him, because we saw the week prior what he's capable of. If he scores a 160 odd again, gee whiz, it's going to be hard to try and get him back in.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay up for him otherwise. I mean, you're paying up for him anyway. It's not like he's super cheap, but I guess outside of starting price, it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah, if you do want to gamble, like if he does, like looking at Supercoach Plus here, if he does score just a touch above 100, they're saying that he's going to go up nearly 15.5K. And then the week prior, because that 167 falls out of his 3-game rotation, it means that his break even then jumps back up to 142 or thereabouts. So you may, if you like to live dangerously and have a bit of a gamble, you can maybe do that and wait a week if you have other immediate issues, or if there's someone else you want to jump on. But I'm not going to take the gamble. I want to get him in my team.
Is 100 average enough as a defender? If you were going to say, hey, you're a keeper as a defender, are you happy with just 100 every week, or do you want more? Like these massive scoring, like ceiling players, would you rather just load up on them, or are you happy with the 100 average?
I think it comes down to, like, if their scoring fluctuates from week to week, it probably hurts you more so in sort of head-to-head league. If you're going for your league first and foremost, overall probably doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think it'd have to be a minimum, I think, of 100 in order to be considered, a top 8, counting the bench defense. But I think Stewart's definitely capable of doing that. But yeah, like Global said, or he asks there, is Stewart a must get? I think the next couple of weeks, in particular, the Cats have West Coast, I think, this round as well.
Yep. Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. I mean, it's in Adelaide as well, so it's neutral territory, so it could go either way. But the Cats, from what they showed in the second half of the game today, geez, it was like chalk and cheese virtually.
Couldn't believe it. It came out of nowhere. It literally just came out of nowhere. They were down by 9 at halftime, and then they kicked 10 goals 5 to nothing. To nothing. It was, and Stewart still scored a 94. Like, part of what makes him so good, he doesn't need a lot of the ball. He's so clean with it. Even when it's contested in nature, he's still really clean. Very long clangers. Yes, Global, he's going to be in my side this week, and you want him before he starts playing in Geelong, because he loves playing there. And in the back half of the years when he starts to play a bit more, and because he just loves the smaller ground. And Adelaide Oval is a smaller ground than the MCG. So
is it confirmed that they're going to play there? Because I know there was that talk that they might not, because the ground's not finished.
Oh, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it'll be ready for some point in time during the year, whether it's as early as expected or not. But I still think of the top defenders, Stewart's got to be up there.
Definitely.
He went 94 today. In the second half was entirely a demolition, where he had like next to no involvement at that point, because it was all one-way traffic. So if he can score 90 plus on roughly one half of football, then the guy's got a ceiling. Don't you worry about that. Hey lads, would you upgrade Marshall to Wits or fix Constable? Do you think he comes back? I'm hoping he comes back, Theo. I'm really hoping he comes back. I don't want that negative 58 break even to go to waste. I want cash gen, man, so bad. We're really clutching at straws for rookies. And if Marshall is the biggest of your concerns, then you've got a sick team, Theo. I gotta say.
Constable got 35 touches on the weekend. I think if anyone comes out of that Gold Coast team, I think he's the one that's pushing down the door. At the very least, for me personally, it's a nice swing to have with Jinbi because you assume Jinbi's going to be playing for a while. Though, in saying that, they do have a 6-day turnaround, I think, and the coach is like, "Oh, he pulled up sore," so we'll see what happens there. But if he plays, I think it's really hard to miss out on that. Maybe you trade him out if that's the only way you can get a Van Ruin and you've got a spare trade, and then you aim to bring Constable back in. But it seems a bit of a waste there.
Do we not know what Woods was out with? I mean, was it just general soreness?
Just said soreness, yeah.
Yeah. People have said. I'm going to say people have said that it was just soreness, that he just pulled up sore. Other people have said, "Oh, he broke his finger, whatever." But from basically first-hand knowledge, it's just
tell us earlier then, God damn it! Don't wait so late. I could have gone to English. I could have gone to English or something. Nah, we're gonna wait until all the rucks have played. And sorry, I'm sore. Oh, I'm sore. Thankfully, Grundy was still around.
It was better than some people had better knowledge than what happened with LDU. I mean, we're talking about that off air, how bad that was, but at least Wits people had, some time to know beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got no R3 unless you got Asava, who absolutely pumped up a big score this week. Who could believe it? But you have no R3, and here I am with no Dawson, with no Clayton Oliver. None of these big scorers. I can't cop a 0 as well in the ruck, and thankfully Grundy
sucked in, Joe.
I got sucked in, man. Story of my life. Hey, thanks for the English didn't get injured for me after the Gorn and D-Cam debacle. Thoughts on Fergus, Green, Liam Jones, the Van Ruin, and Primo Defender? Thanks, fellas. Yeah, well done. English. He looked ominous barely 45 seconds into the game. You knew he was going to have a big one. I remember noting it to people like, "Oh, it looks good." Congratulations on getting English in. Gorn and D-Cam. You've had a ring around though to get to this point. Hopefully, English can stay healthy for you, man. Really, really hope that works out. Fergus, Graham, Liam Jones, the Van Ruin. Yeah, Liam Jones. My word, what a headache. And a Primo Defender. Yeah, I mean, a Primo Defender like who? Are you able to get the Fergus Green to Van Ruin? Yeah, Van Ruin seems to be the standout guy on the bubble. And a Primo Defender. If it's a guy like Stewart, then I think that works out for you. I think that's really good.
I'm not a fan of the Fergus Green trade, to be honest. That 73 is basically restarted his cash in for the next little while and could end up making an extra 50K plus whatever else he scores over the next. I mean, if he scores a 48, he now gets you 30K on top of it. So he's 220. Just brings back like Rochelle thoughts from last year, right? Where people got rid of him at 180K, 200, and then almost got up to 300. So it's a rough one. He's always been that player that seemed to have more behinds than goals, and that was the reason for the poor scoring. And now, he only got 9 touches and 2 goals for a 70. So that's pretty achievable for his kind of caliber of player, I think, there. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I'd be holding him if you can. Yeah, because as you said, his cash gen's just going to kick back off. And for a player that, I think we were probably concerned about and was on the block for most people this week, probably thrown a few spanners in the work with a decent score, which is probably a good problem to have.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be Green. Could trade a McKenzie or Ratatouille to do the trade instead. Ratatouille. I love that's probably been one of the highlights. One of the highlights of or even R2 Galea. That was also really good at early stage. R2 Galea. That was really good. McKenzie. Yeah, McKenzie let us down. 49 points. he's still got a 13 break even, so he's still got a lot to go as well. What's Wilmot's break even at 5? He still has
you can't trade him.
Quite a bit of cash to make, and I'm pretty sure Radaglia went big today. So
yeah, he did, 88.
88. Yeah, so his break even's now -12. Like, you're guaranteed to make money on all of these guys, you know.
Yeah.
So it just feels, in a year where cash gen seems to be so tight nowadays, it's just like, oh boy, you know.
There's a case to say, do you even bother doing it all at the moment? Do you, looking at basically everyone on my bench, I don't think Van Ruin's a must-have now. He didn't score 2 90s in a row, so he's only going to, he has 1 or 2 games with that 90 in the score, and then that's it. So I don't know if he's a must-have. If Ben Brown or some other people come back, he might get pushed out a little bit more as well. So looking at almost every break-even in my team outside of a Liam Jones, I don't know if there's anyone who's actually you must bring in this week rookie-wise, right?
Yeah, it's pretty slim pickings.
Yeah,
yeah.
No one's ready to go.
Do we just hold out?
Yeah, unless you've got cash. Yeah, unless you've got cash in the bank, because I mean, a lot of people will be trying to jump on Stewart, and I was very thankful now that I went Ritters down today, because I've now got 150k in the bank, which now lets me get in Stewart, but it will be probably at the expense of someone like Setters, Set and Forget a Field, as we affectionately call him over on our potty. But apart from that, yeah, it means that I'm going to have to settle for maybe someone less, or or I could go for a Van Ruin. But I think outside of that, like, we'll delve into it as well on our podcast. But I really do like the look, despite the fact that he didn't score too well on the weekend. Samson Ryan, I think with the fact that Nank's going to be out long term, I reckon he's scoring, all the scoring potential of him was just going to skyrocket if he goes number 1 ruck. From what I can't find too much about how long Soldo's going to be out. Richmond are really frustrating the fact that they don't give numbers, like number of weeks. They say medium to long term. And I know that's due to Neil Baum. He's a classic. He used to do that at the Pies as well. So yeah, I think with Soldo maybe out minimum of 2 weeks, reading between the lines. And if Samson Ryan can man the ruck over those first couple of weeks, he's a big bloke. Played a few games as well. I reckon that he could be a sneaky cash cow to jump on that goes under the radar. Just he's a little bit more expensive compared to the basement price rookies that we usually jump on. But if you're willing to forego some extra dollary dues by jumping on him, then yeah, he's an option.
He's up against Peanut Laddams as well. So as our good friend DR likes to call Laddams, Peanut Laddams. So
very true.
You could have not some too bad scoring there, perhaps, around the corner for him as well.
Laddams. That's so true. We ripped into him as well, like that week where he just was an absolute dimwit and got suspended, because a lot of people jumped on him as well as a bit of a cash ride, and then got himself suspended and virtually out of the side last season. But yeah, he's got up to 156.5 is Samson Ryan, so he's a little bit awkward.
He's gettable.
But he's gettable, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So I think people might be looking at the Supercoach Plus and thinking, okay, if he scores 34 like they've sort of projected him to do there, he's not going to have any cash gen. But you could probably maybe expect to see what he scored around about, round 2 when he scored the 72. Anything around that price will be awesome and really kickstart his cash gen.
The thing with Ryan as well is that Ben Miller basically got kicked out for Ryan from round 1. Because they tried him up forward, it didn't work out. Samson Ryan came in and kicked the 3 goals to start with. So I think he's got that kind of spot. They're trying to, taper off Revold a little bit, and Tom Lynch out for a long time as well. So even if Nank does come back, that job security is there, right? He's not going to, get pushed out for someone else.
Yeah, it's very true.
No
Marbiol Chol coming into
no Chol,
our plans anymore.
The Chester to Van Rooyen, the downgrade Dockley to Haynes, and get that Adelaide rookie thoughts. Michelini? Is that what you did in the past, or is that what you're doing now? Or is that because you're speaking in the past? I did Chester to Van Rooyen, the downgrade Doherty to Haynes, and get the Adelaide rookie thoughts.
Michelini was a miss. I tell you.
Yeah, that was a big miss.
Big miss.
He absolutely killed it. He's benefited from the role change for Dawson going into the middle of the ground more, racking up more of the peel. Like you would never have guessed that was going to happen early days. But I think that ship might have sailed at this point though.
If he scores a 68, he goes up by 50k. So
44k actually.
Oh no,
45 break even.
Yeah, so I've got here Supercoach Plus. If he scores a 68, he goes up by 51. Pretty good.
It's very nice.
There's a bit of money there. He was a miss, and then Mitchie Owens was a miss as well. I spoke about him all preseason. I love my Mitchie Owens. This guy's come. I think he's like the 4th highest scorer this week in Supercoach. It's bonkers. Yeah. I don't know. How many trade boosts do you guys have left, if you mind me asking?
Yeah, I've got 4 at the moment.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. So you're putting me to shame. I've currently got 2. So.
Oh well, okay.
Yeah.
I was very very close to using an extra one the other week, but yeah.
Yeah. My starting team was atrocious. So just keeping like guys like Flanders and Bruin and all these kind of players, it was just like you have to get rid of them, right? You can't not. I mean, that explains.
It's probably warranted.
Yeah.
Hippo, thanks for coming on. Love the stuff. If you guys haven't subbed to Hippo, check him out. His rants are top notch, and I felt like joining.
I've seen it.
I felt like joining you, man. I felt like joining you, Doherty and Cogs. They're breaking my heart, man. Every week, is Dawson a must-have now with the role change? It seems that way. It seems that way. If you're gonna have premium defenders dish up 70s. And then you got this guy dishing up 170s. I know which one I'd rather own. Dawson looking the real good, man. A lot of CBAs and then pushing back and taking kickouts. Like he's got the best Supercoach role possible.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? At the start of the season, I said I like Dawson because I know what it feels like not to own Dawson because he has games like this. And he had games like this. So that, as tough as it is to say, like, just comes out of nowhere, has like a 70-point quarter because they need some push up the field and they use him in the transition. I don't know if it's led not doing as much. That's kind of led to it happening as well, but it's a rough one. Supercoach God as well. If you haven't subscribed to him, give him a big sub, doing some stuff as well, kind of helping out the community there. He's saying if he's got enough money in the bank, should he go Doherty and Ridley to Stewart and Dawson this week? What do you guys reckon?
I like
Wowzers. That's good. And
I
know you got day costs as well already. So but you'd have day costs, Stewart and Dawson. Jeez, you'd have the trinity of defenders. and just waiting.
The holy trinity.
Drop a bit more in cash, and Sinclair drop a bit more in cash. You've just got to do it. You got to do it, God.
Yeah.
Wait, God, Trinity. Oh my God, I pulled that. I did a pun and didn't even realize it.
That's good. Pay that. You give yourself a high five. I'll give you one virtually.
Thank you. Yes, that was good. Yeah, no, go for it, God. Go for it, mate. I reckon you got a full send at this point. Is Van Rooyen a potential future tall? Is Van Rooyen a potential future forward tall? Do you think with more games and natural progression he would do well? Do you think picking new pods and new rookies everywhere is the direction? Potential future forward tall. I don't know why the alliteration was really strong there. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a rapper by any means. So look. Thanks, man. I'll leave that to yeah, I think Van Rooyen, he's playing for a good team. He's shown that he's got the talent. It's not his first preseason. He's been building very nicely. They've known for some time that they've got a real talented player on their hands. their forward line has historically, even when they were at the peak of their powers, the lack of firepower in their forward line was and that key target in the forward line was always something that was identified as a weakness for Melbourne. Their midfield's the guns. Their back line is the best in modern day football as well. So it's always been the forward line that's been an issue, and he's got massive raps. I was all of the big footy boards and reports in the preseason where this guy's killing it, and that he was going to get an early debut. I actually had him in my preseason team on the bench because of how confident everybody was about him. And he's sort of showing us that he's really capable of pinch hitting. He also got a few ruck contests as well when he was in the forward line as well. So, I mean, when you've got that sort of role for a great dominant team like Melbourne that are going to be giving the ball to him a lot, increasing his opportunity to score well, I think it's very hard to turn that down for 123K.
What do you guys reckon before I jump in?
I think just in terms of, because I watched a bit of that game against the Eagles, and I was really impressed with his contested marking. Like there was one bit of play, I think it was late in the game, might have been the last quarter, and Melbourne kicked it forward, and he just split the pack. And he's got the confidence, he's got the body. He's, as you said, Joe, like he's been in the system for a little while. I think he kicked, I think it was 36 goals in the VFL last year from 18 games, so 2 goals a game. Really impressive. And like you mentioned there as well, Joe, that the fact that he's playing as a pinch hit in the ruck as well just adds another string to the bow, potential there to increase his scoring capacity from week to week. Easy points, as we know. Grundy's the sole ruck, so he does need a bit of a chop out from time to time. So I think as a cash cow and going forward, there's no real issue there for me. The main thing is his job security, which I think it bodes well, the fact that Ben Brown's still out. He's got a back injury. I don't think he's listed on their the injury list. He was a bit of a, I guess, late-ish omission, but it may be something that lingers, and it may provide a bit more security to JVR. But I was hoping McDonald wouldn't have a blinder. But I mean, can you read too much into it? They absolutely did the Eagles like a dinner. So it was probably easy to kick 4 goals. Easy for me to say, not being a key forward or playing AFL. But I think he should be fine. His job security should be fine in the short term. Just fingers crossed that it continues in the long term.
Yeah, that's really it, isn't it? What do you reckon, Liam?
Yeah, likewise. I don't really have much more to add to Damon there. I think he's nailed it. Yeah,
cool.
It's I agree with Damo. It's just the job security, really.
Yeah.
Melbourne are pushing for finals again. If Ben Brown comes back, I think he's the number one, and then someone else makes way for him. JVR is obviously, yes, he can do hit-outs, which definitely bodes a little bit more for him. I'm a little bit worried about Chandler as well, kind of going a bit slower last week. So maybe they just focused a bit on that smaller forward line, and then the other players kind of came in and dominated. But, yeah, the job security is the only thing. And the awkwardness. If I look at my team, right, I have Caminiti at F7. I have Fergus Green at F8, and then I have Chandler on field. So outside of having to put like an Ashcroft on the midfield bench to actually get Van Rooyen in, I don't actually know how I physically get Van Rooyen into my team. It's a weird position where I'm okay with having Chandler on field because he, 2 weeks in a row he had 90s, and that's fantastic. But Van Rooyen, if he's only going to be scoring me 50s and 60s, I don't know if I can feasibly miss out on scoring from someone else to actually put him on field. So maybe it's just the weight. Hopefully, I know we've got Dylan Williams coming in from Port. Hopefully he plays again next week and then, comes into round 3, but look, it comes into his 3rd game for the bubble. But it's a really kind of awkward position this week in terms of cash cows. Yeah. You almost needed to go Phillips last week and then Samson Ryan this week. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually, because especially, I think a lot of people will be in that similar position because a lot of people have Dunks, Taranto, Rosie as their top 3 forwards, and their sort of F4 may vary between a Goulden or a Cogs or whatnot. And then for those coaches like myself who have Zeeble and Sheasel the Cheesel in F6 as well, and I've got Chandler and Green on the bench, it's like, well, unless you're sacrificing, say, Green, which I was kind of banking on, and I wasn't expecting him to have a game like he did today. Now it almost means that I need to switch someone like a Dunks, Goulden, Taranto, or Rosie into the midfield, and then bench someone like a McKenzie. But even then, it's like, well, if I'm going for Samson Ryan as well, do I get rid of Madden, my loophole option? Because there's no other way to fit both of those guys in at the moment. It's a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think this week is the week that having your the ground size, I think, is going to actually matter so much compared to like any other week, because it generally happens like when the Dogs play in Ballarat, it's a bit of a smaller ground. When North plays in Hobart, that kind of thing. I know when they'll go play in the NT, but there's so many games this week that are on like local grounds. Like from what I understand, Norwood's like tiny, and there's a couple of teams playing on there this week. It's like, do these forwards actually get the ball, or is it midfielders that are just going to be bombing it forward and then scoring goals? Because it's really only 50 meters, right, from the center square. It's going to be an interesting take, really.
Yeah, not sure many people actually noticed that the smaller ground, but it could mean more clangers as well. Perhaps as well.
Stoppages, because there's 18
more
players
stoppages.
in a tiny little space.
Ruckman could do so well this week.
Samson Ryan,
exactly. Is Red Dog looking to be a top 10 defender? I love his role. Yes, Global, fellow Dons fan, got the dub this week. Very rare air that we're in. So let's just appreciate it while it lasts, because this next month is going to be fairly brutal. Redmond's great, especially if it's playing at Marvel Stadium. He loves playing at Marvel for some reason, and loves just pinch hitting for a goal. But he's prone to stinkers, man. He's prone to, and I don't know if you're looking to trade in top 10 defenders. You want to be trading in top 6 to 8 defenders.
Yes.
If he's not going to be that, then I think you're sort of not using your money as well as you probably should be, and you're not going to be getting the return on that investment compared to if you're going for someone like a Stewart, for example, who's dropping in price now but could bounce back in price. So I definitely prioritize the top scorers as opposed to someone who might be on their top 10 defender.
If you had started Redmond, I think, okay, no worries. But as you say, Joe, Stewart's going to be cheap. Sinclair's going to be very cheap. Sicily's going to be cheap over the next kind of while. Yes, these guys can bounce back, but for 20K or 30K more, would you rather Sicily or would you rather Redmond?
Especially if we're flagged ons this year, when the ball's not going to go back there. You know what I mean? We're going to be
in the back line.
Forward at all costs to 2 meter Peter when he's back in the back half of the year, or kicking it to Wiedemann, who's going to be Global. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Go the Dodds. Yes, I know. We're very happy at this time of year when we're not getting killed, but it is what it is. Thank you so much, Global. I love it. Do we think Will Day gets a week off? Because
he has to, right?
The Ultimate Fitness Adventure Camp tell us that
what a name.
He shouldn't get a week. I know. The camp is telling us he shouldn't get a week. He's not. He's saying Day is not going to visit him or his camp this week. It was just a normal tackle. He got twisted. Look, you'd say, according to history and precedent, that he's going to get suspended. But then again, since when has the match review panel ever been consistent about anything? So maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't get a week off.
Yeah. As a Day owner, I hope he doesn't. That's all I'm going to say.
Likewise.
I'll take the no week off.
Liam, do you own Day?
No, I do not.
Is it too late to jump on it now, you reckon? I'm a fellow non.
Yeah, I came very close. No, I don't think it's too late. I mean, if he has a week off, then I wouldn't be getting him this week. Although I do apparently like trading in players when they're laid out with LDU. In any case, I don't think it's too late. I think with the way he's scoring and the role that he's got, it does look as though he could finish potentially top 6 to 8 defender. It's one of those hard ones though. It's like the Redmond, except at a much lower price point, so it works a bit nicer than a Redmond when you're only paying up an extra 30k and you're going to get Stewart or the like. I think Day is still potentially one you could look at.
And the DPP that's to come.
Yeah, exactly.
So vital.
I think the Hawks have going back today. I think the Hawks have potential for another midfielder to come in and be that massive scorer for them. Like they don't really have. I always say in Supercoach, there's always at least one person from every team that is kind of that massive scorer. Your 500 to 600k player, because that's just the way that the AFL is. The Hawks don't really have that. That was their Tom Mitchell. That used to be their Jai Newcomb from last year. That was their Jago O'Meara. So there is potential for someone to come in and average 100 at the Hawks because they just don't have anyone. So they could become that player for us pretty easily there.
Yeah. Big Tommy, just going to do Chester Van Rooyen, swing Rosie into midfield. Yep. Sounds good. Chester appears to be a dead rookie because he's going to be injured for multiple weeks. So, so you having that just sitting there on the bench, not making you money, is a killer. So yeah, that's perfectly fine. And if that also pushes a rookie onto your midfield, that really bolsters, I suppose, your scoring in the midfield. You might not be copying any 40s or something this week around. So
yeah. It's a rough one.
Rosie down.
Come on, man.
Well, it's definitely bold. Of that, you've got that in 100.
Why would you trade Rosie to Dawson? He's averaging 100. Like, he's a top 6 forward. I understand, but like, there's no one else that's going to push him out of a spot. Maybe a Liam Baker, with how good he's been in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, seems like a bit of a waste for me there.
Yeah. Jones and Amadi with Stewart and Ryan.
Marty party.
Yeah, Marty party. It's been spoilt right on the bubble. It crashed, unfortunately. Someone didn't bring the candles. No one brought the cake. The streamers were actually toilet paper. It was a waste. I'm sorry, Julian. It didn't work out for you. But if you can do Jones and Amadi to Stewart and Samson Ryan, then I think that's good. Ryan's got the upside. Yeah, we're paying a bit more. He's had a price rise, but from what we've spoken about today, there's still a lot more upside in him now. With
only 30k. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not
it's only gone up 30k. It's not like you're paying 70k for him extra or anything like that. So, and Stewart is at that great price point now before he jumps up in price again next week. So, look, I'm not against it personally, Julian.
So I don't know if you guys caught. I did my DPP video last week. Does someone like Darcy Wilmot potentially getting mid status make you hold him for a bit longer than what you thought? Because now he can cover 2 positions with like a Constable swing, or do you feel like, okay, he's always been there in my trade plans. He's only averaging like a 60. Get rid of him when you can.
Liam, I'll defer to you.
Yes, it's a good question. I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind holding him a bit longer because he does have that DPP status, and I think it's going to become handy. He'll get that DPP status, which I think will be handy. I think, that's probably, 60. Yeah. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind keeping him and holding him for that little bit longer than I probably would have because he does have the DPP status. Especially, I think, with just the way rookies are at this stage. I think it adds a string to his bow that others may not have.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like in terms of, it'd be handy as well because just with Constable being able to swing between, if you still have Constable, use him as a bit of a loophole option. If you're unable to swing him at the moment, if you can somehow switch him onto the other line and then be able to virtually loop on someone from the bench, either in defence or in the midfield, which at the moment I'm lucky I can do with Jimby and Constable, and then potentially with Will Day. But yeah, I think I think the DPP swings are even more vital as the season progresses as well, with the lack of potentially rookies on the horizon. It definitely helps. I think if guys get dropped, gives you less coverage across specific lines. So if it can cover you across 2 lines, it's more the merrier.
Sorry, Jennifer, I totally cut you off. Holder Trey Hopper, guys. Let me just quickly check. He didn't come up with another 100. I'm not sure why.
Break even.
Yeah, it looked like he was on track for like another 110, and then just it didn't happen. So hold or trade him.
I think you got to hold him personally.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more inclined to consider trading out a Setterfield than I would a Hopper, even though I'm hoping Setterfield can bounce back a little bit. Yeah, he'd be the one kind of. I want Setterfield plus a rookie to equal Oliver, so that's kind of my trade plans at the moment.
Setterfield got burned so much this weekend. Oh, he could have had such a bigger score. Like it was tragic how often he was open, and I think, and he was criminally underscored because the umpires put the whistle away. Like he had so many tackles that should have been paid for holding the ball, that just simply weren't paid. The umpires just swallowed their whistles, let the game keep going, and we saw that when he's actually tackling and getting paid those tackles, like he did against Gold Coast, he was getting so many points, not only for the tackles, but for freeze 4. And he was just racking up points like no one's business. This game on the weekend could have been obviously not to that height, but there was certainly a lot more scope to that scoring that had the umpires actually paid the free kicks that were meant to be there. I know a classic Essendon supporter complaining about umpires, but not for a win. It's all about the Supercoach at this point. Right in front of me, he was wrong. So for those who know, they know. Yeah. So so his break even's gone up. So unfortunately, Setterfield's break even now is all the way up to 85, and we've got Melbourne this week.
Yeah. I'm not sure what. So I picked up Setterfield a week late. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm not sure about what owners were actually thinking that he was going to be kind of finishing off price-wise. I know some people thought about, he's going to be a keeper all year at M8, or he's going to get to 550K in a straight swap for like a Took Miller or something. Did you guys have like a position that you thought, hey, you'd be comfortable offloading Setterfield, or like kind of an estimate of what price he'd end up being? Like
I was just hopeful that he'd make 100K minimum. So I think it looks as though he's going to get around about that mark potentially, minimum. So that's a tick in my book. I was just looking to write in for the 100K, and then I think it's kind of hard for mid prices to make 150K. I mean, the higher price point demands a high average for them to make more cash. So the fact that he's hit that mark already for me is good, and he's on track. So I'm looking to potentially punt him, as I mentioned earlier, to Stewart. But yeah, Hopper, he's an interesting one. I think you could probably hold on to him for maybe another week, potentially 2 weeks if he has another breakout game. But yeah, he just tapered off and just went missing in the last part of their game. But Liam, he's I don't know if you know, Joe, but Liam is a fellow Dons man like yourself as well. So I'm totally used to hearing it all about the Dons. So you've got something in common there. I hear about the love for Setterfield, but I love him as well, the former Blue. So
he was never going to break into your mids. You weren't getting as much out of him. It was just you got something out of it. Yeah, it was a future fourth, but he could have walked to the draft and you could have got nothing for him. So like all in all, it was a very fair, very obvious. I think we got the good side. We definitely I think paid unders for him, but you weren't going to be using him anyway. So it just was a win-win for both clubs. He's been rejuvenated on a new list, and I think he's showing when he's put in his role where he's meant to be playing the sort of output that he's given us. And he's very fieldable. He's a very safe fieldable option. He hasn't dropped us any stinkers like Hopper has. So you've paid up a bit more for him, early days at the start of the year. It was like maybe like 40K more for him, but I think what we've gotten out of him has been very respectable compared to Hopper. So hopefully Hopper can have another spike game. Would be excellent. Who did Richmond play this week?
That 67's out of his cycle this week as well, so his break even's gonna tank, which should help his average a little bit. I think that's why the break even's only 15. So yeah, should be pretty good there.
I've got the Swans without a ruckman, so that will be interesting. But then again, they've got Peanut Laddams, so not much of an advantage for them either. So.
They're playing at that small ground as well, I think. They're playing at a tiny ground this week. It's Adelaide Oval, so it's not too bad. It's not North Melbourne playing in Adelaide Hills. I don't even know where Adelaide Hills is. So it's probably out the back in someone's paddock somewhere.
Pretty sure that's where JFK got shot from.
Adelaide probably.
Thoughts on Rampy, Buckley, and Rivers as a pod trade from Jones? You can't get 3 for 1, Tommy. That's not how it works. No, you got to pick Rampy, Buckley, and Rivers. Buckley has had now 2 price rises, right?
Even more. I think he's like 270 or something now. I think he's well and truly kind of. I think Max Michelane is the one that you want to pick if you can. I think Buckley's kind of just
Buckley's 330. Yeah, Buckley's 330. He's already gone up 125k.
Jack, not worth it anymore. Michelane's only 230 or something, and still got that 100 from this week. So he's if you need someone, I'm almost considering going Liam Jones to him just with some money. I'm in the bank to actually get something out of the Jones trade, to be honest. So wait and see what happens there this week. But yeah, it's a bit rough.
Any of these guys that you guys prefer, or do you prefer a Michelane instead?
Yeah, just short and sweet for me, Michelane, I think. Rampy's, to me, is a bit of fool's gold. We spoke about him at length on our podcast, and just not such... He's kind of in the same mold as Brennan Cox from Freo. Like, historically, he hasn't shown... Like, he's been in the system for 8+ years, hasn't shown to have this average across the entirety of a season. So I think he's fool's gold. Buckley, I think the ship sailed there, unfortunately. Maybe could have let it slide on the weekend if you got him in, because he rose 50k or thereabouts. But his scoring is off the charts. I have no idea how he's scoring so well. Like, I watched him against, and you would have seen the same as well, Liam and Joe. But he's like, he's intercepting and stuff. He's marking. His disposal efficiency is good, but his champion data, they're giving him Bont-like numbers. It's crazy.
Him. They love him. You know what I mean? Like it's. But I was looking at him really hard last week, and I sort of had a feeling that he was going to have a good game this week. But he just plays so he's so accountable. He plays very, very defensively. He stays on his man. And I just felt like if there was, and he was so clean with the ball. I just felt like that sort of game, if he just has one game where the umpires are being overly officiating and he's giving away free kicks and just clangers, it could just completely kill the pick. So that's why I'm just like, there's too much risk involved with going that way. But man, this game is all about risk at this point. Risk that you can live with.
I said it during the week to people, and I'll say it again for next year. We really need to have a serious look about these Adelaide defenders around this 200k mark who come in, who are kind of higher draft picks. I know last year we got Hinge, and then he ended up like 330k. Michelane's in the same position. I think there'll be other ones next year when Jordan Butts potentially leaves and a couple of other leaves as well. So, yeah, really kind of that sneaky pod choice that I don't think a lot of people pick up on. Definitely something to look up for next year. Obviously not so much now, but yeah. Here's one for you guys. So Fitness Camp was wondering, do you guys think upgrading all the mids or the back line is a must kind of to start with? Or is it more just grab who's cheap, who's going to bounce back?
Liam?
It's good. Probably. Sorry, it's a tough question. I don't necessarily think I'd be focusing on one or the other. I'd be looking like this. Well, this week I'm probably looking at the back line just because you've got the likes of Stewart. Dawson before he skyrockets with a break even of 67. If you can somehow get him in, as opposed to the mids. But I probably wouldn't prioritize one over the other. It's just really looking at where the value is or where the upgrade options are.
Yeah.
Where it makes sense, I guess. It's not necessarily prioritizing one over the other.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. I think it comes down to your individual structure as well. Like some people have gone super deep in their midfield, so which would warrant them having to, concentrate on their defense. Some have gone, vice versa. And they've gone for a bit of value in the midfield. Guys like Warple, who, you could probably cull at the moment now as well. Break even's getting up there. But yeah, I think on the whole, from what I've seen, a lot of people are in the space where they've gone a little bit leaner in defense.
Yep.
So I think, yeah, like Liam said, jump on Stewart. That'll help shore up your defense a bit more. And I'm super worried as well. Like I've got Dacos, Day, Jinby, McKenna, Jones, and then Constable sort of looping in either Wilmot or Cowan. So I'm very, very precarious at this moment here, especially with the likes of Constable already being out. But Jones not performing, and Jinby, if he gets rested, that's really going to stuff me over because it means I'm going to have to be forced to play a Wilmot and Cowan if Constable doesn't come back in. So, I think in my situation, which may differ from others, I'm looking at defense, but yeah, it comes down to a needs basis and where the value lies, definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Needs basis, but also the rookie basis too. Like if you've got, it really just depends on your downgrade options. For me, a little bit as well. If you're going 2 midfielders and there's no midfield rookies, then you're kind of stuck a little bit. I'm in that situation. I'm a big advocate of this year, especially with having such a stacked forward line. I didn't start it so much, but round 2, I brought in almost 3 forwards. So with Sheasel in there, my forward line is technically finished at this point, which allows me to upgrade in different positions. So being able to focus the money in there, it's kind of allowed me to just grab, okay, this week Sicily's really cheap. My rookie's performing poorly, which I think is a big thing as well. So if you can get like let's say a Davey off the field or even a Chandler at the moment, or if you've got a Cam McKenzie or someone or even a Liam Jones who you're not happy with, upgrade that position first if it's a toss-up between the two, because getting rid of a 45 and replacing it with 100 plus is a lot better than getting rid of a 70 and then replacing it with a 110. It is a huge thing as well.
Yeah.
Global's asking here, does Mitch Duncan tickle anyone's nuts? He loves tickling people's nuts.
Global always has to give us a tickling nuts. I say peanuts. I keep it PG.
It's still PG.
Peanuts. Yeah. Any elephants in here? Mitch Duncan.
A couple of peanuts and a cashew as well to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Trail mix while we're at it, mate.
Trail mix.
Not for me. Mitch can walk that trail outside. I am not putting him anywhere near my team. His injury history is as long as the trail that goes around my lake outside. I'm not going anywhere near Mitch. Sorry, Global.
Yeah, I'm the same. 100%.
As we move down the list, Jennifer was asking thoughts on Lockie Neal. So he really seems to be someone that's become, negatively suffered with, I don't know if you can positively suffer, but has suffered a lot with Dunkley coming into the side and Ashcroft as well. Something we kind of identified at the start of the season was just the money and the points has to come from somewhere, and that's obviously Lockie Neal. Is he in your upgrade plans at some point, or is it more just okay, he's not top 8 anymore, don't worry about him?
I think at this stage for me, he's probably a little bit lower down the list, just in terms of I'm pretty happy with the primos that I've got, albeit they're not really performing. Probably more so Laird, Bont I've been happy with. But I've got Laird, Bont, and now LDU alongside Tom Green. So I'm happy with those sort of core 4. And then, midfield I'll probably concentrate a little bit more on down the track. First and foremost is probably the defense, just because it's so bare in my case. But yeah, he's one that I've shortlisted in terms of, I'll put on the watch list, as you can do in Supercoach. So I'm keeping one eye on him, but not intently. I'll just track to see how far he can drop. I think his break even this week is 136. Come up against your mob, Big J, yeah, in terms of facing the north. So, yeah, who knows? Could they put some work into him? Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah, it's an interesting one for me. Do you want to go first, Liam, and then I'll jump in after?
Yeah, it's. Sorry, I'm just getting his stats up again. I just had them up and I got rid of them for some reason. I think it's. We all had the query about Neil preseason. What would dunks cause? And it's, as you said, it's not suffering positively.
I've never seen someone suffer positively before. I'd love to see some sort of example there.
Like it's not terrible scoring, but it's just, I don't know. It's not great at the same time. Does, like, what's he averaging?
For his price point, yeah.
103. So he's going to drop a lot. I think he's got a big score in his cycles, though. But, I mean, he's averaging the same as Will Setterfield at the moment. The same as Goulden, basically. The same as Harry Sheasel's averaging more, the same as Rosie. So the problem with Neil is he's really going to drop down to that 500K mark. I mean, unless something happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those tough ones as well. When he does drop, he's one that you want to look at because we know what he can do, but is it worth it at that point later on? When we're just not seeing, I agree. I don't think he is.
He tends to start the year hot, and you picked him because he's a hot start to the year, and you're hoping that he could go toe-to-toe with a guy like Clayton Oliver for a slightly less, price tag, and then you can get Clayton Oliver a bit later when he drops in price. But unfortunately, that plan has gone down the drain because Clayton Oliver is actually going up in price, which defies all belief at the start of the year that a guy that was 700K is actually going to go up in price. But yes, Clayton Oliver defies gravity. He always goes up and does not come down. Yeah,
I'm waiting for that stinker score, Joe. Setterfield plus a rookie on the bench.
It's this week, damn it. It's this week. John is going to towel him up. Don't you worry about it. We're going to be feasting this week, boys. Don't you worry about it.
Who do we need to get in first? Stewart, Dawson, Clary, Laird, or English?
Well, not Clary, because he's going to get towed up this week.
Go the GOAT.
That's it. You got to back in the GOAT. He's the GOAT for a reason. He doesn't care about
exactly.
What's Adelaide's fixture? You guys just chat about it. Let me just pull up Adelaide's fixture. I think that affects Dawson quite a lot.
I mean, Dawson's got Carlton this week, so if he's playing,
I don't think that matters.
It's a tough midfield. Carlton are very good to score, very tough to score against in the mids, and they have no issues tagging people. We saw that they decided to put some attention into LDU on the weekend as soon as he started to heat up a bit. So, so Stewart, but they're also quite inaccurate. They can be inaccurate. You never know which Harry Mackay appears on any particular day. He could start missing, could get a lot of kick-ins. He's playing at home, Adelaide Oval. So that's pretty good for Dawson. Stewart, though, has this ridiculously low break-even. Now, what's Stewart's break-even again at this point?
69, I think.
Yeah, but that 160 is going out after this week, so it's not that great. Just looking at Dawson, he's got quite a few games at Adelaide, and he dominates at Adelaide. So he could almost be a vice-captain option for the next, up until his bye, I think, out of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So between now and round 14, I think he's got 5 games. So not too bad. Yeah, I think Dawson's the one. I think Clary, you can wait. I think Laird, you can wait because he's got a low break even. English is tough because I don't think he's going to drop in cash too much. He's just kind of got that role that's always going to be there. So it's not like versing a a stronger midfield's going to take away his points or anything like that. Dawson, English, Stewart, Clary, Laird, probably. That's for me. What do you guys reckon? That's fair?
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a question here. Anthony Caminiti's asking, is fielding Anthony Caminiti okay at F6 to do for
Anthony, you are killing it, mate. You are in all of the St. Kilda promos. Your head is probably expanding by the minute, but we are so proud of you. I am kicking myself for not having you in my team. Forgive me. Forgive me.
Do you not have him, Joe?
I don't have him. I'm a
come on, man.
I'm a fake fan. I'm a fake friend. I'm so sorry, bro. Forgive me.
Terrible, Joe. How can you not have
I listened to him. He said, don't pick me. So I didn't pick him. I
What can you do? Yeah, you got to take his advice.
Yeah.
Of course. He also told me to pick Nazai Wangani Miller. He's a great pick.
That's true.
No, I'm sorry,
That's true.
Anthony. I
got stuck with that one. Oh, man. Look, to be fair, I think you're averaging like a 55 to a 60 for most weeks. Chandler just scored a 59. If you've got that as a stopgap so you can fill somewhere else, I would almost be more confident picking you over a Cam McKenzie for next week.
He's got Collingwood this week.
And you've got Collingwood. So if you kick a couple of goals, you never know.
I back you in, bro.
Yeah.
You can give Darcy Moore a bath. I believe in you. I hate Collingwood.
Yeah.
You got this, Anthony. Back yourself in.
As long as Rowan Marshall doesn't get subbed again, I'll be happy.
It's all right. They don't have a ruckman. Yeah. They don't have a ruckman.
That means they'll sub him when they're winning. They'll be like, no ruckman.
No, they were up by like 40 points. Ross, the boss, was trolling. He knew that Stuart Dew had Marshall in his Supercoach team and thought, you know what, I'm gonna add insult to injury. I'm gonna rub
his captain like I did. Oh man.
Yeah, Anthony, back yourself in. And if it means you're gonna score, Shaq will love you, Anthony. Yes, do it, mate. Is Day a keeper? Asks Michael Rubenstein. Look,
if he can keep up 100, Day's a keeper.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. If you can keep up 100 in the back line, similar to a Zeeble, and a consistent 100 as well, so kind of around that mark. I know Sicily and maybe not Dawson as much, but Sicily and Sinclair seem to be they have low lows and high highs. But if you can keep up with like 100 average pretty even, I think you're pretty set. You don't have to have the top 8 guys as long as you've got someone pumping out 100s every week, because we see games where Sinclair's relegated to tagging someone or gets tagged himself and pops out a 65 like he did on the weekend, or same with the Sicily, right? Comes out with like a 75. So, yeah.
I think he is. I mean, he had 23 CBAs, just reading on the AFL app. He had 23 CBAs, and there were 25 goals plus 4 for the start of every quarter. So 29 CBAs, of which he was in 23 of them.
Pretty good.
So that's 23, 29. That's 79% of CBAs this week. And he had 1 kick-in. So if he can maintain that, now, of course, it's a big if, because Sam Mitchell loves to move the magnets around a bit. He'll just one day drop Jai Newcomb's centre bounces by 20% 1 week, just out of the blue. So but if he's able to maintain this sort of role, then I think the scoring will be there for him to be a keeper, which for this price, as Liam said before, it's not too late to get him. And especially if he has the week off, then you're Gucci. You can focus on getting Stewart this week, for example. Healing Hikes Australia. Hey, legends. Should I trade out Hopper and Ashcroft for Stewart or Cogs? Is DPP with Zeeble and Cheese going? Sorry, Healing Hikes. I don't know if it's a late
Monday. Ashcroft out for Stewart and for Stewart or Cogs. DPP. It's interesting because it really just depends. If you're considering Zeeble and Sheasel to be keepers, it really frees up a lot of space in other spots. Yeah. I think Ashcroft still has some money to make, so he wouldn't be one that I'm trading out. I think you can get Ashcroft to a good 350k plus fairly even, fairly easy, and then he starts to taper off a little bit like a Hopper and a Setterfield is at the moment. So I would not be doing those trades. If I was in your position, I would say, hey, I'll stick with Stewart not being in my team. Hopefully he doesn't go bonkers and match his 160 because he didn't do that on the weekend. And then he'll tank in price a bit more because that 167, once that's out of his cycle, that's it. He's got a couple of stinker scores there. So, yeah, that would be my assumption.
Okay, cool.
Because you might find, hey, next week you might not even have to go and pick up anyone in the defense because you've got, 2 guys averaging basically 100 there at the moment. So you might have to save your Stewart money and upgrade somewhere else.
Oh, this one's an interesting one. Jennifer asks, is it worth getting DeGoey in? DeGropey. Is it worth getting DeGropey in? I don't know. He's gone up. I just hate saying his name. It just sounds dirty. I don't know. DeGoey's had a cracking start to the year. My word. He's had one score, sub 100, which was only 84. And even this last game against Brisbane, when he scored 107, it wasn't even that good of a game either. So if in his low light games he's still able to ton up away from home in a tough loss, does he tickle anyone's peanuts perhaps?
Well, it's funny because we had DeGropey, Jordan DeGooey.
DeGooey. Oh, that was much. That was so funny. Don't like call him DeGooey.
Jordan DeGooey. I made a bit of a gag to Liam saying that is this because I think it was off the back of his practice game where he absolutely killed it, and I'm like, is he just the biggest sleeper of 2023? Like, is he the one that's going to go under the radar, come out and like take all comers, win the Brownlow, be an absolute star? Everyone calls him Kmart Dusty. Like, is he going to become the next Dusty? But yeah, whilst he's had a couple of or LD Dusty. Whilst he's had a couple of good scores.
I call him LD.
Yeah. LD, there's some bargains there to be had, but I think you're probably looking elsewhere compared to Jordan DeGooey. And it's funny as well because LD have like their variants on like the well-known brands, and they just change like a part of the name. So that's Jordan DeGooey. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be looking elsewhere. I think I can't see him being a top 8 midfielder in terms of scoring.
He's currently ranked 8th for 5-round average. But I think what if you picked him up at 460k, you'd be pretty happy with how well he's doing at the moment, right?
Oh, for sure, of course, absolutely. But you had to start him, and that was a gamble in and of itself. You know what I mean? Like, and you never know with him. It's hard for him to stay out of trouble. Fool me once.
Get those wandering hands.
I know, the wandering hands. Fool me twice, shame on me. So yeah, I'm not going near the Group B. Yeah, cheers, Big J. Sorry, go Bombers. I don't know why you're apologizing to me, Healy. He said go Bombers. I'm very happy about this. His Dunkley and Doherty, a hold or time to move on? Cheers, fellas. Doherty seems to be the consensus here that you can move him on. Dunkley, though?
Dunkley's a no. You got to keep him. No one else is keeping
him, bro. What are you doing?
He's going to slaughter North Melbourne. Dunkley is going to absolutely destroy North Melbourne this week. It is going to be a bloodbath. We are going to get murdered. Especially in that midfield, I think. Just Brisbane's just too strong, but especially against the smaller ground. Like North does well when we can run and we can, take advantage of our pace and things like that versus other teams. But when you've got a lot of tools and it's literally just grab the ball from the middle, kick to the forward line, there's a tool, that's it. Dunkley's too strong, man. There's going to be so many stoppages and everything there. He's just going to slaughter people. Doherty, if you think, as Paul is saying here, with Walsh and I think Kennedy's coming back and a couple of others as well. If you think he's going to bounce back with those players in, you can keep him. But for me, I'm happy to pick up Doherty as like a last defense upgrade at 450, 400k. So That's fine for me. I'll weather the storm at the moment, especially if we didn't have DPPs coming in next week and Sheasel and Zeeble coming to the defense. I think Doherty would be a bigger hold, but because there's guys basically taking him out, Doherty at 500k with some money, you can grab a 600k midfielder, anybody basically. So it's pretty feasible there.
Thoughts going Warple to Samson Ryan if we have cash for Ridley to Dawson/Stewart. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, Warple is he's going to warpedo any sort of cash gen moving forward. I don't like him as a player. I never liked it. It was just the role that he's going to have. Apparently, he's back to his best. And you watch today's game; it did not look pretty at all. So
I think we might do 5-minute timer, guys. So 5 minutes, and then we might think about heading off. So
Warple to Ryan.
Get your questions in now. We've got 37 people on. If you haven't already, subscribe to Supercoach Edge as well. So these guys do some amazing stuff. Try and get everyone to 1K subs. So definitely jump on there.
Oh, thanks, boys. And subscribe to obviously you boys as well if you haven't done them so already. What are you doing? Get onto it.
Thanks. It's really appreciated, guys. So look, we're going to put the link here.
I got it. I'll do it.
You already got it?
Yeah.
I already got it, I think.
Quick.
Oh, same time! 9:07
double.
Jeez, we have to pay you guys twice now, don't we? Double the fee. Damn it, you got us. Easy, smart.
Love having you on. First time having you on. Been an absolute pleasure meeting you boys. Obviously, we watch your content and we're subbed and stuff, but to have the collab going, it's so good. We love having the Monday night stream, have people come on and stuff. And you guys really know what you're talking about. It's just so much fun. And the viewers get a different take. They get to hear from people that have good premiums in their side. Unlike me, I'm always complaining about the fake primos who are killing me. So it's good. Even though you go for Carlton, you can't be perfect. It is what it is.
You guys have cool
exactly. I've been told that. Oh, thank you. We try. You guys as well. I love the consistency because I'm not a graphic designer at all. I'm a video editor by trade and videographer, but just trying to change a few things in the thumbnails and stuff. But I love what you guys do. You're branching out there, bit of consistency, which I love to see. I'm very much. I love the theme that you guys put out there. So,
all him.
That's all you. Good stuff, BJ.
I don't do anything.
It's one of those things. I think you definitely can see a progression, in kind of just skills wise and things like that. Over your first video thumbnail versus now, it's very different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who else we got?
Try and working with the algorithm.
Doc and Ridley to Day and Oliver, or Day and Stewart. Day's having a week off, Kevin.
Apparently,
Look, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. I don't have Christensen, whatever, on speed dial. I don't have any sort of influence. All right, I'm just the guy on YouTube talking smack. He might play. He might just get a fine and be fine. But we're sort of running on the assumption that he's going to have a week off because the AFL are really cracking down on concussions and contact to the head and dangerous tackles and things like that. Better to plan for him to be suspended this week as opposed to put all your eggs in one basket and have to scramble because it's a short week. We're already Monday night and footy.
Scramble and eggs. I see what you did there, Joe. Scramble and eggs done.
Yep.
I'm just on fire. I'm just on fire with. I just love having all the puns, even the ones I don't intend. It's all flowing.
They all count. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Own them.
If you had to choose between the two, Oliver first, just because he can pump out huge numbers. I think Stewart, he's not going to have a big week this week. I'm hoping, and then he's going to drop in price a lot more. Whereas I think Oliver, yes, he might drop 50k at some point, but he's good for like a 130 for most weeks. So grab your Oliver if you can. I'm waiting. I'm trying to get Setterfield up to Oliver. That's the plan for me. But just have to wait and see there. Last couple of questions. Corey asks, Wine's under 400k if he gets his mid-roll back. What do you reckon? I know some people jumped on him at the end of last year as well.
Ollie Wines.
No, Liam, any
On
thoughts?
Francis
I've
seems
really
to be taking a lot.
Thought of him.
I haven't even looked at him, to be honest.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, he scored 34 on the weekend. So
yeah, big score there.
Randy would have won
Not one, that's a
75.
rookie score.
Delicious.
Oh, mate. All right. And last question for today, Lucky Luke. Holding Chandler for another 2 weeks or 1 week. So if we just look at Chandler, for me, it's hold for 2 at least. Break even of -4 with an average. He only needs to score a 64 and he's up another 30K. So I think Chandler's an offload maybe at like 310 if you can. But not yet. Definitely no. The only reason you would get rid of him is if he gets dropped. Yeah. That would probably be my only thing with them changing things around. Maybe Cozzy Pickett's taking a bit of his time. The coach doesn't like the midfield mix, especially with JVR in there. If someone needs to get cut, Chandler gets cut. But definitely mate for me.
Yeah. And if we come out on fire and they're realizing, oh no, Essendon's a lot better than we thought they were, set a go, just completely tallying up Clary in the mix.
Man,
you might have to send Clayton Oliver to half back, like it was rumored in the preseason, and send Cozzy Pickett forward more. Oh, that would be incredible. I love the dream, man. I'm a dreamer. What can I say?
Are we all? Yeah.
It's not AFL Evo 2, yeah? Like, you don't go, right? Come on, Joe.
Who are you trading into your team? You got Oliver, you're trading in Bont, you're trading in Buddy.
Yeah, exactly, right? I had a great trade period. We got all the good players.
We only traded up pick 100. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. We're about to head off. So what do you guys have on Supercoach Edge, boys? Thanks for coming on. What have you guys got coming up this week? Obviously a bit of a short turnaround.
Yeah, these short turnarounds, they're good in terms of just getting another quick fix of footy. You don't have to wait too long, but it's always a rush. So we're glad to squeeze you boys, or you boys into our schedule because it's always so packed. But this week, looking at just what's happened over the course of the week. Obviously, Nank going down is probably the latest news for those people who own him. Talking about Samson Ryan, Jordan Dawson, Doherty. Do you trade him? Do you keep him? Stuff that we've sort of covered already with you boys. But running through that and running through all the trade options as well. All the cash cows to jump on. We've got a captaincy segment which we have from week to week as well. I'm the captain now, which Liam and I have a bit of a bet. Which you'll see over my shoulder, just over there. There's a captain's hat, which there you go. Liam's got it ready because he's already won. He won this week, back to back, for the person who picks the highest scorer. I'm going to go with that. I'm giving you a leg up. That's literally all it is.
Thanks.
But a bit of competition.
I think my captain's average at the moment is about 97. So I went Cogs. He scored a 54. Like, come on.
They'll bring it down. They'll bring it down. Thanks, Cogs.
It is what it is. Thanks so much, guys, for coming in. Again, everyone.
Thank you.
This is the link in the comments, so please head on over. If you haven't already subbed to Supercoach Edge, what in God's name are you guys doing? You got to get over there. You got to sub. They got a great podcast going, and as they told you, they got a lot coming up. So thanks, guys, for watching. Thank you.
And we'll have our team sheets live stream on Thursday, and we're going to be dropping our team reviews and stuff like that soon as well. So stay on tune for those. All right, guys. Catch you next time.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Thanks, boys. All the best. Take care.
You
Good
too.
luck.
Thanks.
Go Dons.